Hello once again, my chickadees. Gaming Chick is back once more with another review. Before we hop to it, I'd like to give a big thank you to the folks over at Sega for providing me a review copy to make this review possible. Thank you so much! So now with that out of the way, let's go! Sonic Superstars is a brand new 2.5D adventure for the Sonic franchise, and it's developed by Arzest and Sonic Team, and is published by Sega. With Sega being on a total roll lately in relation to the Sonic franchise, with titles and entertainment such as Sonic Origins Plus, the successful Netflix series Sonic Prime, 2 kick-butt Hollywood movies, and the successful 3D Sonic entry of Sonic Frontiers, Sega now decides that it's time for another entry into the 2D library for this blue little guy in the form of Sonic Superstars. Does this game give us the same feeling of nostalgia that Sonic Mania did years ago, or is this another title to be added to the "at least you tried" pile? Only one way to find out, so let's do some zoomies! Story. Adventure through the mystical North Star Islands in this all-new take on classic 2D Sonic high-speed action platforming. Play as Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy Rose and harness all new Emerald powers to move and attack in dynamic new ways. Navigate gorgeous, never-before-seen environments, solo or with up to 3 other players, and stop Dr. Eggman, Fang, and a mysterious new adversary from converting the island's giant animals into badniks before it's too late. Gameplay. Sonic Superstars marks a return to the 2D format for the Blue Blur. Well, if you don't count the compilation release of Sonic Origins and Sonic Origins Plus. Those games aside, this means that this is the first brand new 2D Sonic appearance since Sonic Mania in 2017. Oh yeah, it's been 6 years. Literally been waiting the same amount of time for Dragon Ball Super Anime to return, which is annoying. Stupid Yamcha. I bet it's his fault. But angst against Dragon Ball aside, with Sonic Superstars, Sega is trying to cash in on the resurgence of the brand by capitalizing on the current momentum and popularity the franchise is currently seeing for the first time since his glory days. The game sorta meets the mark for both nostalgic fans like myself and fans that have been more into the 3D outings. No, not you, Sonic Forces, go away! Levantula, sick 'em, boy! The reason why I say sorta is because, like any game, you have flashes of greatness and other times, some very apparent flaws that get in the way, which I will of course explain in more detail as we go. Sonic Superstars' fiber of its very being is to try to accomplish one simple thing, and that is to keep the overall vibe and essence of what myself and many other longtime fans love. The proper 2D feel to our side-scrolling Sonic games. And Superstars actually does that in a very slick way by using momentum-driven gameplay and supergluing it together alongside a vibrant and really gorgeous-looking art style. It has everything going for it that you loved in the original Sonic trilogy or even in 2017 Sonic Mania, with all the characters' animations feeling overall fluid and well-animated and frame rate itself being relatively stable and smooth, at least on the PlayStation 5 version. It makes you as happy as Scratch from the Sonic cartoons, and you just want to laugh and say, no. It's like, that's not quite right either. Anyways, we'll just let him do it while we move on with what we were talking about.
Okay, Grounder, lower the brick wall!
The storyline itself is your basic Sonic scenario, with Robotnik being up to no good again, coming up with another evil scheme in relation to the Chaos Emeralds to take down Sonic and his friends, and this time enlisting the help of Fang the Hunter, a character a lot of people aren't very familiar with, who was first introduced in Sonic Triple Trouble on Game Gear, and has since had many cameos in games such as Sonic the Fighters, Sonic Jam, and even more recent titles like Sonic Generations. Every time I see his weird little self, I just hear Wayne's World and Foxy as he approaches. Your typical story aside, the feature that sets this title apart from others of similar making is the accommodation of being able to find a group of friends and playing 4 players simultaneously. Thankfully, the levels themselves, with each game zone bringing in new elements like Speed Jungle allowing you to grind on vine rails as you dodge enemies, or make a getaway from Fang in a chase scene, or grab onto thorns and have them launch you to higher platforms, showing how fundamentally sound 3D capabilities are in zones like Bridge Island that feature map curvatures and loop-de-loops that allow you to take multiple paths as you explore each map, etc. The levels feel bigger than I thought they would be. It felt at some point that the more I would go and move up platforms, the more and more of the map that I'd seen discover, like finding hidden rings to unlock minigames that help you collect Chaos Emerald and medals. It can seem like a maze at times, should you get too involved in exploring, but don't worry. It's not like Sonic CD's level of maze structures, or like The Shining. You aren't going to be slithering around in the cold, dragging one foot, and chasing a kid with an axe screaming, "Johnny!" Well, I mean, you can still do that, of course, but I'd have to report you to the Fuzz and not invite you to the Chili Dog Picnic, so that's a double loss. While Superstars does give off a feeling of, well, this seems familiar, by having levels that give you deja vu like Press Factory and Pinball Carnival. Oh no, I'm hearing that damn ear-grating music again. Sonic Spinball, why won't you ever just leave me alone? Maybe I can go to a universe with an infinite amount of me, like Rick and Morty, and find one of them that doesn't have Sonic Spinball in that universe. Heck, I'd even take a giant mutated blob creature of myself as a world if it achieved that. But again, we're way off topic, which I seem to be in the habit of. My bad, guys. Even though Sonic Superstars has many things that seem like you've seen it before or feel like you've remembered it, like it's the Berenstein or Berenstein pronunciation from the Mandela Effect, this title does offer several new experiences too, such as interlacing past and fresh ideas and elements that take levels like Lagoon City and exemplifies the balance between the new and the old by combining what works and what didn't work in classic titles with levels like Hydro City from Sonic 3, which here in Lagoon City offers you new types of water jets and even fountains to enjoy what feels distinctly new and sets it apart from the nostalgia grab other levels may partake in. So I mentioned zones. Yes, those silly zones make their return again, but this time, instead of having the first few acts of a zone act as your regular levels with a boss fight in the third act, instead here, each zone comprises of 2 normal acts, each taking anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes to complete, which is due to their sizes being bigger than normal acts, with boss fights now taking place on the second act, which then proceeds to unlock a third optional act that you can partake in, which can include stuff like optional boss fights or chase scenes from Fang. I think the only zone, though, that has just one act overall is the Sky Temple, mostly because it's more extensive and overall has more going on with it than a typical zone. And because of this, the level can take you up to 10 minutes or so to complete if you're terrible like me. But oh well, guess I'll just have to live and learn. No? Okay then, I'll make you guys laugh someday with my bad jokes. I won't give up the fight. That's right. It doesn't matter now what happens, I will never give up the fight. Okay, moving on. As stated previously, Superstars lends itself to bigger zones, and the zones feel more expansive than we've been used to in a very long time. This specific enhancement, I feel, was done with the co-op mode in mind, rather than single player. Sure, the bigger zones work great in single player by itself, no problem at all, but using multiple characters in co-op mode just opens up the possibilities of each map and gives you an idea of what the devs were truly going for with it. Having abilities at your disposal to use such as Sonic and his drop dash, Tails with his hovering flying ability, using his tails as helicopters, Knuckles being able to soar and glide with fluidity just as you remembered him doing in Sonic 3, or in recent games like Sonic Origins, Amy getting a double jump ability alongside her hammer, all of their abilities combined allows each level to contain multiple routes to take to find hidden items that you may not have discovered or known about unless you play as these specific characters. And that makes me say, aw yeah, this is happening. Nope, not doing it. I've literally made that joke every single Sonic review so far. We're not doing that again. For me, I feel though, even with character traits, I feel like the biggest addition to the game's mechanics is the further expanded role of what we know of Chaos Emeralds and what role they play. Here in Superstars, when obtaining one, you will get a special ability that you can activate via your bumper wheel to do attacks such as Fireball that allows you to bust through barriers as fire. It sort of reminds me of the power-ups you got in games using the Wisps and Sonic Colors, only this time instead of Wisps, it's just Chaos Emeralds. Obtaining Chaos Emeralds to me is actually the easiest that it's ever been in series history in my opinion, with you being able to find giant rings located in each zone, jumping into them, and being thrown into a 3D space-like vortex area that has you swinging from space dot to space dot to chase a Chaos Emerald as it moves away from you. You have less than a minute to do so, but once you get the hang of it, it will literally only take you 20 seconds for each one. It's not hard at all, not even a challenge, but it is pretty fun. Sadly though, while with the abilities themselves you unlock via Chaos Emeralds look flashy, especially during levels themselves for walls or higher to reach places, and even helping to make a boss fight easier, overall they feel rather redundant and gratuitous as a whole for many levels, which is a shame to me. So you have great gameplay that expands on the old and makes zones and gameplay feel fresh, gameplay that feels smooth for all playable characters, amazing and foot-tapping music, gorgeous visuals, decent minigames to partake in for Chaos Emeralds and medals to use in the in-game shop, cute mini-world map that is just like Sonic Generations map screen, fun character traits, etc. All great, right? Absolutely! Now, however, we have to get into the things that aren't so great and make even me as a die-hard Sonic fan say, that's no good. Usually, you'd hear me go on about boss battles and gush about them, right? Well, yeah, usually. However, this time, no, I don't think I will. I'm not saying they're bad, quite the opposite. Each one feels uniquely different and makes you use their own attacks and mechanics against them to hit them, such as letting them throw their drill hand at you, dodging and making them lock into themselves and injuring themselves. That's super fun. However, where they lose me in this endeavor again, even though they offer distinctive challenges, such as giant mosquitoes and clowns of Pinball Carnival, the boss fights are just way too damn easy. Sure, there are some spikes here and there with later level bosses and even the final boss of the game, and even though they're relatively balanced for the average player who may not have had a Sonic title before, if you have played them for a while, you're going to say quite a few times, "What? That's all?" Because you can beat enemies in less than 6 hits. Yes, and to top all of this off, you can't full-on die in this game. That's right, no game overs. Just start back at the nearest checkpoint and continue. While overall it's not one of my bigger gripes, I do feel in a way that it can hurt the game's challenge at the end of the day. But then again, I felt the same way about Super Mario Odyssey, and that worked out pretty well, so maybe people will disagree with me on this one. The last small gripe that I had was the co-op mode. While all abilities and playing with friends is a good time and can be, it tends to try to sneak into the new Super Mario Bros. Category of chaotic. Well, not quite that bad, but it's pretty easy to displace your character on screen, leading to death and many respawns. Think of games like Contra, with you leaving your buddy behind because you made the screen move too fast, and you get the idea. Same concept, but not as rage-inducing. Overall, at the end of the day, Sonic Superstars ends up being an enjoyable experience that has flares of greatness, with some sprinkles here and there of stuff that could have been done better. Well, yes, stuff like a little too easy of boss fights sometimes, a few powers feeling superfluous with them only being used in small instances, no ability to get game overs can feel like a slight drag. I, however, feel that with its well-balanced gameplay of speed and platforming, great level design and structure, fantastic music, fun characters to play as alongside their individual traits, inventive boss fights that, yes again, are way too easy, but are designed creatively really well, minigames that feel different than the normal run-of-the-mill minigames from the previous 2D Sonic games, and a battle mode that lets players use their customizable robots and engage in various minigames that involve racing and survival challenges. With all that, I feel it trumps the minor negatives the game has going for it. Is it as good as Sonic Mania? To be perfectly honest, I don't feel it is. Is that a bad thing? Absolutely not. For what Sonic Superstars is, it offers you an extremely fun time that I'd recommend to any Sonic fan. But for non-Sonic fans, it might take a tad bit more encouragement to get them to jump on board. So I'll leave my verdict as if you've already played and enjoyed previous Sonic titles and say, with all that having been said, my verdict is clear. Gamin' Chick says, Gamin'? Game? Enough already, Robotnik! Jeez! Gamin'? No. Shh! Nuh-uh, stop it right now! So, now with all that having been said, Gamin' Chick says, bye now.
Oh, yeah! This is happening!
No, Sonic! I said no!